That was always my biggest problem with. You had back in the 80s and then into the 90s, parents were just complaining like crazy about, oh, it's violent and weapons, and we don't want our children seeing this. You know, my child tried to make a weapon out of this and that, and he's trying to use it. Well, for me, it was like, the toy companies should have jumped on that like a bandwagon. If they had made safe Ninja Turtle toys, katanas,
like a bunch of toys and stuff like
there
that.
was.
I
remember, but they should have made different. Most of them, a lot of times, were really expensive. That was the main thing. It was like, oh, you can get a side, but it's like $30 or $40 for this side that has sound effects.
Remember, the really expensive. I remember, going to Toys R Us, look at them, was like, oh.
Yeah, they should have made some affordable. It could have been just like the ones I had, the rubber ones.
Yeah.
Kids would have been thrilled to have those. A rubber katana, 2 of them, a rubber bow staff, rubber size, and rubber nunchucks. The risk level is dramatically lower for getting hurt. Your kid is appeased, and importantly, your kid's not going to go try and make a real version of the weapon and hurt themselves.
Now, they did some with the... you mentioned that, and that just reminded me of like all the old Power Ranger toys, where you would have like the T-Rex sword or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And whatever other weapons they had, I can't remember. I always remember one of those. I wanted the Red Ranger sword.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I always wanted when I was a kid. And they actually made like rubber versions of it. So it's kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah, and I mean, I had fun like crazy with those rubber size that I had because it was a way they were realistic feeling. It was fun. And, kids, people, when they grow up, they kind of forget what imagination they have when they're a kid. You can make anything out of anything when you're a kid. You can pick up a branch and pretend it is anything in the world.
Yeah,
a gun, a weapon, a bomb, a guitar. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You can imagine what it is.
I was notorious for that just because they kept doing that until I was 16. But
I still do that, so.
Ain't nothing wrong with imagination.
Cosplayers.
Yeah, I mean.
Wait. Who are the group of people that they dress up and they pretend to hit each other?
Like Amgard or Dagger Hair? That's what they do here in Kerrville. Is Amgard, Dagger Hair.
What is it called though? It's LARPing.
Ah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, LARPing, but getting back to the turtles like that, so that was always one of my issues with it, is like, you're going to take away a cartoon the kids love, which is going to make the kids upset. The kids are going to remember it, and they're going to try to replay it anyway.
Yeah.
Why not just try to do something safer? The companies are happy because they're making money off it. The kids are happy because they got the toys. And the parents are happy because they know their kids are playing with the safe toys.
That just kind of reminds me of something. I just wanted to say this real quick. How many of you guys had the toys, Ninja Turtle toys?
I did.
Nope, I didn't. Not at all.
All right.
Huge collection.
I didn't have a whole lot, but I had the backflip turtles. You remember those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you bend them over and they were supposed to do a backflip.
Yeah, like meow.
But they never did.
No, they would never do it right.
They're like slinkies, so you could just never get them to go down the stairs. And coming back to the scythes, what they gave Raphael, I don't even know what these things were. They did not give him scythes. They gave them... It was like a stick and a hook looking thing. And
I remember that.
What was that thing?
It's like some sort of meat hook. Which, coming back to the weapon things, it's if you go to the
wait. Meat hooks are okay.
Yeah.
The scythes, no.
Well, because they figure, it's a hook, so he can have it, and he can be running, and he can jump, and he can hook onto something and not fall. Yeah. So it's safe.
It's kind of like when they replaced Michelangelo's nunchucks with that
grappling hook.
That's
what I was just fixing to say. The grappling hook he's using it like what's called a rope dart, which is a Japanese weapon. I use a rope dart very frequently. It's a very exotic way.
Now, I gotta ask, why are you using these weapons?
Training, physical training.
And just for your own amusement or
training.
Okay.
And just
never know. It'll be at one moment. One time.
Zombie apocalypse. You never know.
Gonna be one guy busting in your house.
That else, you're like, don't rob that guy. You're gonna get fucked up. Do not.
Oh my god! I just thought of freaking. I never can remember this guy's name. He was on the Sarah Silverman project. Big guy, rat nose, beard. I wish I knew what the guy's name. Brian something. He has a bit about how he bought a katana just so he could scare off robbers. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, my gun, no, I got a katana. Also, I sleep naked. So, him, naked, with a katana, wearing a baby mask.
But, no, like, the rope dart, to me, that's a more dangerous weapon than the nunchucks. Because a rope dart is very easy to make. I made one practically for free. I had rope lying around. I used a little keychain ring from a car keychain. It's a really thick ring. And a weight. like a little, like one of the weights you put on like a fishing line or something. A friend of mine gave that to me, and the weight's about maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 pounds. And I had a little England in, boom, plug it in. I'm spinning it out there, like doing all this stuff. I whacked myself in the head with it. That hurt worse than the nunchucks. The nunchuck is wood. This is metal. Spinning at high speed and whacks me in the head. I'm like, bonk! I whacked myself so many times with it early on, so I'm like, okay, all right, this is good. This is good. The training, I'll get used to it. And I did finally. I got pretty good with it. Hardly whack myself with it anymore. But after that, I was like, if a kid wants to make nunchucks, they make nunchucks. And it's like, I'm like Michelangelo. Parent takes it away. Oh. The next episode, I was like, I got my grappling hook. Yeah. Whoa, I can fight bad guys with my grappling hook. And it's like, the kid goes, I want a grappling hook. And so they get a rope, and not necessarily do what I did, but maybe they just find something heavy enough. They tie the rope to, start spinning it around.
Probably like a rock.
Yeah, a rock. That would be convenient. Like a rock that would be a weird shape that they could just tie around, start spinning it. They're either going to break something, windows, they're going to break whatever, and boom, whack themselves in the head. Parents were always griping about safety so much that in actuality they were making it more dangerous for their children because of that, which is a weird thing to think
I think they always like to complain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those people who try to look at cartoons and say, this is racist.
The turtles themselves are stereotypes, but they're stereotypes that people can identify with.
The stereotypical leader, the stereotypical loner, the stereotypical nerd, and the surfer, or whatever Michelangelo's supposed to be.
Yeah, he's like a surfer dude, So you have them, but as I said, these are the good types of stereotypes. They're the ones that it's not making fun of it. It's like paying tribute to it, and it's giving different people the ability to identify with a different character. My brother Richard always identified with Michelangelo because Michelangelo was all cool and surfing, just carefree, comic book nerd. It's like my brother loved comic books, loved skateboarding. He was a lot like Michelangelo. My brother Christian was more into like science stuff, and he liked technology. Of course, he identified with Donatello, and that's the cool thing about the show. You have 4 main characters; they're all heroes. There's not really any one that's like more important than the other from one point of view. So it gave kids the ability to
later
look at
on they put Leonardo in the leader position, not in that show, but in other adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been appointed leader, which I've never liked that idea. I've always preferred them all being equal.
Well, another thing that's an argument about people is their ages. A lot of people argue a lot about the turtles' age because
most heated of discussion.
One of people
lost sleep over this. That nation has been distress.
There's arguments that I've been in about this with people because some people say, "Oh, they're all the same age. They're all the same." I'm like, dude, they're brothers. How could they be all the same age unless they were like quintuplets?
By the way, how do we know they're brothers?
That's the thing that was in like the Fox live action you're talking. They're not brothers.
Yeah,
they're just
that's the thing that did annoy me. But what are the odds that all 4 turtles would all have came from the same turtle? And
for me,
but they're brothers more in the sense of they grew up with each
they grew
other.
up. It'd be like it's a nice message they're trying to get across.
It'd be like if you have like your real brother, but you weren't raised with him, but you were raised with like 3 other brothers, which, by the way, I'm kind of making a reference to the Rodney Dangerfield turtle. Not kidding, that was a thing. Rodney Dangerfield is a turtle. It was not his voice. You did not do the voice, but it's Rodney Dangerfield. He has the eyes. He has the bow tie. Not bow tie. The tie.
Yeah.
He has the. He even says I get no respect. He even says the line. Anyway, but it'd be like if you grew up, you had your real biological brother, but you didn't grow up with him. You grew up with 3 other boys. Those, you would think of them as your brother instead of the one that you are related to by blood. So it's more of they were raised up together, so they're kind of brothers. They're just not like genetically linked to each other.
I always thought that was a nice kind of sentiment and a message because it like was showing kids basically, look, these aren't actually brothers, but yet they view each other as brothers because they've grown up together, they love each other,
and
it's like a family.
You can even argue that there is a kind of a message of adoption in it. Because, Splinter taking care of them, raising them.
And so it also shows to parents, like, you can love your children even if they're not your real children. Yeah. Children, you can love your parent even if it's not your real parent. There's a lot of nice messages going on there. But for the deal, again, we go to the age area here, as I was talking about. People, the way most people view it is, Leonardo's the oldest, because he's the most responsible. Now, here's where the argument is. We obviously know Michelangelo is the youngest, because he's the most childlike.
I'm going to say Raphael.
That's my opinion. I think because it's like the oldest brother and then the next brother are the ones that are like the two closest, so they're going to be the ones that are going to be fighting all the time, arguing, rivals.
By the way, that had to be like one of those things where they had to do that eventually. They had to have those guys go at it.
Every single Turtles incarnation at some point they get into it. It's become a cliche for them. Yeah. It's like in every Superman storyline, eventually he dies by Doomsday. It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Or you're gonna have to have like it'd be like I'm gonna go with another wrestling one. So sorry, leave you guys out in the cold.
Yeah, it's okay.
It would be like Warrior and Hogan had to happen at one point. Mm-hmm. Ultimate Warrior had to go up against Hulk Hogan.
Because they were like different versions of the spectrum. It was going to happen sooner or later. The fans wanted it. They wanted it. It was a force of nature that was going to happen.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly the most beautiful thing, but it was.
But it happened.
Yeah, it was something that needed to happen, and fans went ape shit for it. But yeah, so I guess everybody, I know they fight in that CG movie.
They do, and they've also fought in a lot of other things too.
But I remember people saying, "Oh my god, that was the best part in the movie," even though it's Leonardo versus a freaking Shredder turtle. I'm sorry, I just thought he looked like the Shredder in the armor. Mm-hmm. Why is he wearing armor, by the way?
Because he's going as a vigilante to try to stop crime on his own, and he doesn't want anybody to know that it's him. Basically, if he's hiding it from his own family.
Okay, I was about to say, who's he hiding it from?
Yeah, he's hiding it from Donatello, Michelangelo, Splinter, April, and then Casey figures it out, and then wants to help him.
Casey Jones, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, Casey was awesome. Going back to the old movies, he was one of my favorite characters in the old movies.
What was the thing he used to say? Like his catchphrase? Goongala. There is a fan-made Casey Jones movie. You need to check it out. It's really good.
I think I've seen a couple of them, so I'll check it out.
This new incarnation, this new one.
Yeah, the new Turtles. So we talked a lot about the old ones and our feelings about it, passion about it, everything else. It's something from my childhood. You grew up with it. Y'all kind of been a little bit involved with it, but you're kind of on the other side of the spectrum then of looking from the outside kind of thing. So this gives us a good opportunity to go, okay, we got two different points of view here. People that love it and people that like it, but it's not like, I would die if I didn't have this kind of thing,
Now, I want to ask one last thing before we really get into the new movie.
Yeah, the new movie.
Favorite turtle? If you guys have one, go ahead and just spurt one out.
Sadly, I don't really remember any of the characteristics of them.
Okay, so that's for both of you guys.
For me, there was a time when I was a kid, Leonardo was my favorite. Then I got to like Raphael a lot. Then I got back into Leonardo. It's probably pretty equal between the both of them.
Me, it's Donatello. And I'm not just going like against the grain because I know everybody loves Michelangelo, everybody loves Leonardo, everybody loves Raph. Mm-hmm. But it seems like Donatello is the one that gets no love. And you know what? When Giant Crane is like stomping Manhattan, who's the one who came up with the plan to stop him?
Donatello. He's a very unsung hero of the Turtles.
Who came up with the flying machine they used to help defeat him? Donatello.
Who
knocked out the crystal that made him giant? Made Krang giant.
Yep.
Donatello.
Like I said, he's like super
Leonardo swings his sword at it and it doesn't work. Donatello's like, idiot, you have to hit the crystal. He's just smacking like the frame that's holding it. Donatello just takes out the crystal, and Krang shrinks back to normal size. Mm-hmm. Basically, he is the hero. He is basically the guy who...
Yeah, like I said, Donatello's kind of like the unsung hero. He's the person that always is in the background, like a secret weapon. Anything that becomes technological, the other Turtles are basically helpless with.
Yeah.
They don't know anything, but the minute it becomes techno or where it's any sort of technology, he's on top of it and he can just fly right through it. If they didn't have Donatello, they would not be able to be anything. So.
Well, we went through the original show, some of the other incarnations, our personal histories with it, and when we come back, we'll talk about the new one, and we'll be right back.